1776 was pretty much another summer day, as pretty much as every summer day in the Central Valley of California is, but by the afternoon, the day turned into the darkest day ever for the communities of Dairyland and Chowchilla. Across America, there was an ongoing month-long celebration marking the 200th anniversary of its founding on July 4th, 1776. But as night fell on July 15th, the celebration stopped. There was but one news item, one headline that captured the attention of the entire nation on their televisions, their radios, and in their newspapers. Dairyland's school bus, gone. 26 children vanish. A local school bus with 26 children, ages 5 to 14 years, along with the bus driver, had disappeared. I'm not going to recount the details of the entire story here, since you can easily learn about that on your own if you don't know much about the story, except to say that nearly 30 hours later, on July 17, the Dairyland and Chowchilla communities rejoiced in the best day ever when the 26 children and their bus driver walked up to a night watchman at a rock quarry in Livermore, California, 100 miles away, all safe and secure. Of course, that bus driver is who brings us here today to this park. That bus driver, Mr. Edward Ray, became a hero, not just here in our local communities of Chowchilla and Dairyland, but across the nation. But contrary to his nature, he did not act the hero and was embarrassed by the attention foisted upon him. Edward Ray, or just Edward as the kids knew him, not Mr. Ray, never, was a private, simple, hardworking man. He got caught up in a bad situation that July summer day and did his best to take care of the kids in his charge. That's just what he did, but he was still a hero. We're very proud to have with us today members of the Ray family. They're on my left side here. Maybe there's still some sprinkled out there, not quite sure. They'll have some words to share a little bit later. But I do want to acknowledge someone who's very special and most notable. And that person, right up front, is of course the woman who was Edward's enduring love throughout his entire adult life, Mrs. Odessa Ray. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Jody Heffington, who was on the Dairyland bus #1 with Edward that terrible day. And Jody has some personal words she'd like to share with you about Edward.
Hello. I first want to say thank you to the City of Chowchilla for dedicating this park to Edward in his name. We all loved Edward. We call ourselves Edward's 26. I loved Edward so very much. I knew him a little bit before the kidnapping. He worked with my Uncle Truett as a bus driver at Dairyland. On that day, we were just coming home. It was one of the last days of school, and when that happened, we had to get in these vans. And I remember feeling a little bit extra lucky, I guess you could say. It's kind of a funny way to say it, to be when you're kidnapped, that I got to be in the van with Edward. I felt a little bit safer because I was with Edward. And Edward was always a quiet man, and you always knew that, you know, if Edward had to get on to you, that you were going to be in trouble. And especially me, because my parents and my uncle knew Edward. Well, while I was in that van, I didn't like everybody touching me. And Edward heard me say a few colorful words that I would never want my family and my mother, especially, and my dad to know. Well, Edward scolded me while we were in that van, which is kind of a, you know, you'd think, well, so what? You're being kidnapped. It doesn't matter. Well, that kind of gave me hope, because I felt, well, you know, he's going to tell my mom and dad when I get home, and I'm going to be in really bad trouble. So in a way, he gave me a lot of hope. But Edward was such a strong man, and like I said, he was so quiet. You knew that if he was speaking to you in any way, harshly, that you listened to him, because he was so quiet. I feel that none of us kids would be here today, alive and well, if it wasn't for Edward. I think that they'd still be looking for us. I don't believe that we would ever have been found. I believe that with all my heart. I also believe that Edward was a true hero because he feels that he was just doing his job and keeping us safe and making sure that we were felt safe, you know. Even though he wanted to keep the battery for the flashlight going, he said, we need to turn it off. You know, some kids cried and they were afraid of the dark, so he kept it on. You know, and he was humiliated by them taking his clothes, but yet none of us looked at it that way. Edward, we looked to him for the strength that we needed to get out of that hole, and he gave it to us. Edward was a true hero because he didn't come home when we came back and survived what we went through. He didn't boast about it. He didn't go around saying, well, I did this and I did that. No, Edward was a quiet man, and I most guarantee you he would be embarrassed by this. He would. And he would be very humbled. I would say humbled by this gathering and this name of this park. But I think it's very befitting that he is named after a park where children go and they play softball and they play soccer and they do have a skate park and big trees because children loved Edward. They gravitated towards him. And I just want to say thank you for honoring him because I loved him, and I think all 26 of us truly loved Edward. And anyway, I hope that people understand that it's not that we want to relive this every year. It's not that we want to keep bringing it up or keeping it alive. We're just honoring a humble, true hero that shows everyone that if you work together, you can survive anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Put this back on here so the wind doesn't blow my papers away. Yesterday I received a letter from another young lady who was also one of the kidnapped children. She lives far out of state and was not able to attend today's ceremony, but she asked that I read a letter to you, and it was written by Jennifer Brown, who today is known as Jennifer Brown Hyde. And Jennifer's letter is, look in the dictionary and you'll find the definition of a hero. A person who, in the opinion of others, has heroic qualities or has performed a heroic act and is regarded as a model, a man of distinguished courage or ability, admired for his brave deeds and noble qualities. Our local definition of a hero is one single word, Edward. Some may call him Mr. Ray or Ed. Others may call him husband, dad, or grandpa. To his beloved 26, we just call him Edward, our beloved Edward, our hero. We have a bond between us that is nothing short of extraordinary, similar to the bond between soldiers who have been in battle together. We have endured unimaginable and come out triumphant. Edward, you are so worthy of this park renaming and so much more. Let the angels sing and the heavens rejoice as you are praised today and always. I speak for two of your beloved 26 as one of your beloved 26 passed before you. With loving regards and a lifetime of gratitude, Jennifer Brown Hyde, and in spirit, Jeff Brown. Now I'd like to introduce a granddaughter of Edward and Odessa Ray, Robin Ray Gomes.
Hi. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a brief little, it's not very long, he wouldn't want it long. Actually, what he would say right now is this is a bunch of phooey and everybody needs to go home. But that's my grandpa. So, okay, here it is. So Edward Ray was born in LaGrange, California on February 26, 1921, which is 94 years ago today, to Frank and Marie Ray. He attended Dairyland School and then graduated from Chowchilla Union High School in 1940. He met the love of his life, Odessa Faye Snyder, and married her on June the 30th of 1942. As a young couple, they bought 32 acres in the Dairyland area, where he spent his day being a farmer and a dairyman. In 1945, they welcomed their first son, Glenn, and 3 years later, they welcomed their second son, Danny. In 1953, Edward started his 35-year career as a bus driver for Dairyland School. He loved hauling numerous generations of family to school. While driving bus, he continued farming, raising dairy cows, planting and harvesting row crops, and hauling hay. He was always willing to help whomever and whenever he was needed. In July 1976, his life would change forever, as with the life of everyone on that bus that day. He was so very thankful that all of those children made it home safe on that hot summer day. Because of his love for the children, they were always his first priority when it came to his job. Edward retired from Dairyland School in 1988. In 1996, Edward and Odessa sold their ranch home and moved into town. Life in town was adjusting, but it brought him closer to the grandchildren and later their great-grandchildren, which brought him great joy and excitement to these lives. Edward enjoyed watching his great-grandchildren play baseball and basketball and even soccer. Grandpa loved watching his boys and was always there. He loved being involved in the community, whether it was helping the Chowchilla Lions at the fair, traveling with the Chowchilla RV group, or in his younger days, Circle 8 square dancing. Edward never met a stranger. He would always welcome you into his home, offer you a Pepsi, and whatever fresh homemade dessert my grandma made. He loved everything about Chowchilla and he never wanted to leave. Chowchilla is his home. The family would like to thank everyone who has been involved with this dedication of the park. Peggy Hop started it off for us, and all these wonderful people just kept the ball rolling. So it is such a great honor for our family. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Robin. And now I'd like to introduce members of the Chowchilla City Council. And they, of course, were quite instrumental in bringing this to fruition for today. We have with us Mayor John Chavez, Mayor Pro Tem Wasim Ahmed, Council members Trinket Gometz, Dennis Hayworth, and Richard Walker. And also joining us is Janin Aber, our former city council member who's now on our planning commission. And Janin was really the one who pushed to make this happen a few months ago. So she's it. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you, if I may.
The City Council knows that Edward Ray deserves to be remembered forever for his actions to save the 26 children and himself during the terrifying hours in July 1976. That is why we voted to name this park after him. But that is not all. Today, as mayor, I am issuing a proclamation that designates the month and day of February 26, beginning 2015, and for every year thereafter, as Edward Ray Day in Chowchilla. We hope that when February 26 comes around each year, you stop for a moment and remember the strength of heroism that was Edward Ray. This proclamation is hereby presented to the community and to the Ray family this 26th of February, 2015.
Now, Odessa, you have to share that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's now time for the unveiling of the Edward Ray Park sign. So we have family members here, we have council members here, and what I'd like to have is those of the family who want to come to the back of the sign here, grab the back of the cloth and hold on to it. Whoever's going to do it, come on up. Just grab the back of it and lift it up. Yep, go ahead and drop it down in front of you. And now I do want to point out, this is a temporary sign. We are planning on doing a lot more with this island that it is resting on. We intend to build a much bigger, much nicer sign. We are intending on putting a flagpole here. We'd like to put something that is going to represent the kids who are on the bus that day. So you'll see those plans developing, we hope, during the course of the year. We'd like to get it done by the end of the year, but that just depends on a number of different things. So we invite you to keep an eye out, keep an ear out for the things that are going to be happening in this particular park. In closing, I want to thank you all for coming today and celebrate this important, very worthy dedication to a wonderful man. Know that there are two kinds of heroes: heroes who shine in the face of great adversity, who perform an amazing feat in a difficult situation, and heroes who live among us, who do their work unceremoniously, unnoticed by many of us, but who make a difference in the lives of others. Edward Ray was both of those heroes. Thank you.